This is the script of a song composed when the Chinese People's Volunteers participated in the war to resist US aggression and aid Korea in the year 1950. On June 25, 1950, 8 months after the founding of the People's Republic of China, the Korean War broke out. The flames of war soon reached the border river of Yalu, and US planes repeatedly bombed northeast China's border regions, causing heavy casualties and seriously endangering China's security. On October 19, 1950, as requested by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Chinese People's Volunteers forces crossed the Yalu River to aid the DPRK's fight until a ceasefire agreement was signed in 1953. The move defied the US's armed aggression and safeguarded peace for New China.
在波澜壮阔的抗美援朝战争中，英雄的中国人民志愿军始终发扬祖国和人民利益高于一切，为了祖国和民族的尊严而奋不顾身的爱国主义精神，英勇顽强、舍生忘死的革命英雄主义精神，不畏艰难困苦，始终保持高昂士气的革命乐观主义精神，为完成祖国和人民赋予的使命，慷慨奉献自己一切的革命忠诚精神，为了人类和平与正义事业而奋斗的国际主义精神，锻造了伟大抗美援朝精神。
The weapons exhibited are used by the CPV soldiers in the war. Compared with their foes, the CPC's disadvantage in weaponry was astounding. Despite poor weaponry, 2.9 million CPV soldiers resolutely joined and fought on the battlefield. It was a time when New China was still poor, with inferior weapons and weak air and navy forces. The forces of China and the DPRK defeated their armed-to-the-teeth rival and shattered the myth of invincibility of the US Army. These heroes who had contributed to the victory of the war have never been forgotten, and Yang Gun-se is one of them.
1950年11月，杨根四连长带着所带领的连队进至长津湖地区。
接受任务时，杨根思就说：“不相信我杨根思上去守不住这个地方，有我杨根思在，小高岭就在那个地方呢，就几平方公里，炮火震天呐！小高岭被翻了一遍又一遍，被大雪覆盖的山岭一下子成了片片火海。”
In freezing temperatures, Yang and his platoon withstood the outbound enemy's onslaughts. Upon the enemy's 8th attack, there were only a few soldiers left, and they were out of ammunition. The reinforcements were still on the way. When the enemy attacked for the 9th time, Yang Gun-se held up a satchel charge, lit the fuse, and threw himself into the enemies, sacrificing his life at the age of 28 years old. In the Battle of Lake Changjin, despite the huge differences in weaponry, the thinly clad soldiers also suffered from the extreme cold in the snow-covered ridges and mountains.
冬天根本睡不了，我的鼻子就是冻坏，零下30多度，那年朝鲜也最冷。
In such deadly weather, many of the CPV soldiers were frozen to death in fortifications, some of them still holding their guns. The CPV soldiers had always upheld patriotism and heroism by defying personal danger and sacrificing their lives to safeguard the dignity of the motherland and the Chinese nation. An apple is nothing but usual, but it was priceless for CPV soldiers during the Battle of Shanganling. On October 14, 1952, the Battle of Shanganling broke out. CPV soldiers were blocked by the enemy's heavy gunfire. They faced a severe lack of water and other supplies.
坚守坑道部队的粮弹补给，特别是水的供应非常困难。一天下午一个运输员把一个路上捡到的一个苹果交给了坚守坑道的7连连长张继发。
Zhang asked the transporter to eat first, but was refused. The apple had been delivered one by one, and finally went back to Zhang.
谁也舍不得要一口。传到我这，我得带头啊，这个苹果，一个皮儿，然后传下去。那么多的人，一个苹果又在那手里转了3圈，才把那个苹果吃完。所以提起这个苹果来，心里头难受。
Regardless of difficulties, CPV soldiers have always kept the optimism spirit to win the revolution. Some of them nicknamed their bomb shelter to find joy amid hardship. During the war to resist US aggression and aid Korea, a total of 2.9 million CPV soldiers fought on the battlefield, 197,653 of whom sacrificed their lives. Chinese and DPRK people and armies went through thick and thin together defeating the enemy, forging a great friendship through blood during the war. Those who contributed to the victory of the war have never been forgotten by today's Chinese people.
抗美援朝战争既是从中国的安全出发，又是从拯救朝鲜于危难之际的需要考虑，也是着眼于维护亚洲和世界和平，体现了高度的国际主义精神。
伟大抗美援朝精神跨越时空，历久弥新，必须永续传承，世代发扬。
在庆祝中国共产党成立100周年之际，我们重温总书记讲述的抗美援朝精神，就是要雄赳赳气昂昂，向着实现中华民族伟大复兴的中国梦继续奋勇前进。